Hey guys and gals, my name's Randy. I'm over here at Dynamic Image Customs, and I was going to show you how to work on a Pathfinder. So I'm going to build this from ground up. I've got to disassemble the whole vehicle and put it back together. I've already built a frame. I'll show you what I've done to the frame. I have to pull the whole thing back down to the frame and fix a few things, and then finish it up and paint it, and then everything is going to go back. So we'll flip the screen around. I just put some Titan wheels on there, and to get them to tuck, I've had to pull this out, and pulling that out has created some issues. So I'm gonna have to slice and dice and re-weld and cut the door and fit the door to the body. As I get that, those tires are gonna go. I'm getting smaller tires. I was gonna put a small block Chevy in here, so I got some really wide tires. Now I don't need those. Originally, I had a spinning spare that's built off of the front hub, just a truck, or I've turned this into a two-wheel drive. All these Pathfinders are built on four-wheel drive frames. That's kind of what I do. I do a little extra on everything, but this is going to have to go. I don't have time to finish it. This needs to actually sell. I'm not going to use it for my personal vehicle anymore, unless it doesn't sell. Whatever. Putting caddy tails in, I have to finish all that up. Nothing on this vehicle is finished. This build is about 8 years old probably, and I never was able to finish it. So what I'm going to do, I had bag behind axle. I'm taking that off. I don't like that at all. I want this vehicle to ride a lot smoother. So I'm going to swap out the lower bar and put in a square tubing bar and put bag on bar, and that'll also keep it down low so the back seat will still fit. And that is going, that's not very good. I'm putting a manual valve on here. So I've pulled the engine out last night, and there it is. That's S14 engine, the KA24DE, and I put a turbo, but I'm not going to put that back in. This originally had the V6, so all this wiring is going to have to go. I've got a 97 Nissan hardbody motor going in it, and I'm going to have to swap harness as well, get everything lined out. I'll delete all of the emissions off the engine, so I'll go through that. It's illegal in some states, so you just kind of do that if you want to. And the lower control arms, I'm going to have to rebuild. These were testing movement and actuation of them. They're not built to hold weight, so I'll have to rebuild all of that. This has been sitting out in my backyard for like 8 years, so it's kind of rough. And I've got the engine that's going in this back here in the other part of my shop. There it is. This engine, I already had all the emissions tore out of this, and I actually was getting about 27 miles to the gallon on the freeway with this going to a car show and another vehicle that I had. It did really good, but it started using a lot of oil. So I'm redoing the rings and getting everything cleaned up. The head was cracked. No, the head was warped. So I had the head repaired. It's ready to go in. I'll go through all of that. And anyway, it's all a mess right now, but we're getting there. And I'll go through this and keep you posted on everything that I do as I go. And maybe I can show you something I've learned. I've been messing with these since I was 15, and I'm 43. So I've always had one of these. I've got about 20 of them right now. I love these hard bodies. I just love the body of it. Body style is awesome. And alright, so let's get started. What we're doing tonight is pulling the body off. And we have a bolt here at the front on both sides. And then that'll be up behind the front bumper. It's It's easier to get to right here. So we'll go through there. The wheel will pull that one out. We've got one right here behind the wheel, the front wheel. We'll open the door and it'll be right here on the floor on both sides. And then we'll have one, you can see underneath, right where the doors meet. There's one right there. I may have to pull these seats out. And then there will be one. I don't think I've got a bolt in this one. I do not. But that one will be near the back seat, in front of the back tire. And there's another one back here at the back. The very back on the Pathfinder, it has that. The hard bodies have 6 bolts that hold the bed down. There'll be 2 in the front and 4 in the back. And this thing is a mess. So bear with me as I go through this and fix rust and dents and things as we go. I'm going to try to do a bunch of videos and link them together if I can figure out how to do this. I just build, I don't do videos. So we'll see what we can get done tonight. It is already 8:22 on January 1st. So, alright, I'm going to get to pulling these bolts out, and then I'll show you what I got rigged up. Alright, so removing this body, you will have to take all of your brake lines loose. All of your wiring, all of your engine wiring will have to come out. Any wiring that goes to your frame will have to come off. I've got most of this already tucked up. That's for the clutch. I'm adding, this one was an automatic. Most of these Pathfinders are. So I'm having to add a clutch. So what I've got to do is take, looks like I've got the line that goes to the back already undone and maybe capped so that I can use the front brakes. I forget, it's been about 8 years. So I'm going to take these front lines loose right here on both sides, and then I'm going to remove the steering column from the gearbox, and I'm going to, that looks full, so I'm going to try to catch that fluid so it doesn't get all in my floor. I'm going to remove all of my air lines for my bags because they go into the cab. I'm going to crawl under it and make sure the parking brake is unhooked, and there's no wires going back there for mine because I'd never finished it up. So, dirt dauber's nests. Gotta love them things. Alright. And then I will show you how I'm going to remove this by myself. All you got to do is be creative and you can do anything you want. Alright, I'll cut you back on in a minute. I've got everything removed. It should be ready to pick up. I didn't have any brakes or anything hooked up in the back. I can't tell you how happy it makes me to remove this piece of junk. So when you're going and buying air ride equipment, don't buy the knockoff stuff. That was a waste of money. And this was from 2003. It was a company called Fender Bender International. This was supposed to be polished. It did not come polished. I think they were going bankrupt or something whenever I ordered this. But I used it for a long time. It was pretty awesome. Let's see what else we got. I've been crawling around underneath and all up in here, removing everything, making sure there was nothing else hooked up. I think I'm ready to, I'll have to tie those doors shut, remove the hood and things that I have up there. And then I will show you my nifty little gadget to pull the body off by myself with all the doors and everything on. Alright, I'll cut you back on in a second. One of the awesome joys of having an air ride vehicle with 0 PSI is trying to lift it in the air or get the jacks and jack stands out from underneath it. So luckily I have a very strong frame. I've built this frame with 2" by 3" quarter wall from the firewall back. So I have lifted right here at the nose, and I've lifted right here at the back on that beam that I've welded in. And I've removed all of the jack stands. And so the plan is to set this down. The rocker will sit inside of this C-channel on both sides, and then I will strap this to this, and I can center the weight by running up and down the truck, or right here running up and down here this way. And I can use these that will slide in and out of this center, and I can get center that way. And this should pick up. Once it's centered, it will pick up and teeter perfectly center. Everything is ready to go on this. All I have to do is drop it to the ground. Let's see if we can do this. This jack is missing the top handle. I had to use it for something. I've got 3 jacks. You know what? Whenever I lift this body off, that jack will just fall right out. I don't have to fight this. But I could get another jack and slide under the frame rail, probably right there, and I could get that jack out, but I'm just going to leave it unless I run into issues. Let's see what happens whenever I lower this down. I'm going to go super slow, and I'm going to move those in to the body once I get down fairly low. And of course it's going to one side. I'm going to stop it right there. I might need both hands, so I'm going to put you on pause. So this C-channel that I used is not quite wide enough to clear the doors. I thought I did this with doors on, but I've not actually used these in probably 8 years. So I'm going to hit my doors, and I don't want to do that. So it's almost 10 o'clock. I've already worked a 12-hour shift and then been out here for an hour and a half or so already tonight. I may just wait until the morning and pull these doors off. Alright, so pulling these doors off, this pin right here, I've already started it, but you just knock the dude out, save him. So what I'll do is I'll pull this away, and I'll just slide this right back in that hole. Tap him back on there. And then with the inner wheel well out, I can get in here with a 12mm, it looks like, from the wheel well area. And I will have to pull the door panel off, or find the other side of this plug, if there's a plug in there. And then on the back door, let's see what we got. We have a plug right here. I can unplug the door right here. Got lucky with that. Pull that guy out right here. Maybe. I need a tripod or something to hold my phone. It'd be really nice if I had a real camera. Alright, so once we fish these out one at a time, because they're too big to fit through there, am I making you seasick? Alright, so I'm going to fish these out off camera, I guess. And then I will unbolt top and bottom, and then the door will just fall off. So I will hold it at the top as I remove the last bolt, and then I will also use the latch, which is non-existent, but that's the idea, is to use the latch to help hold it. Then you can grab it by one side, unlatch it from the other side, and then it will fall off on you, and you can carry it safely without falling on the floor and denting it. This all has to come apart anyway, so I decided to go ahead and pull the fenders off. So with the wiper cowl off, there will be a bolt underneath the wiper cowl, and then you'll have the bolts along the top. You'll have one in behind your side marker, then you'll have two down here behind your bumper. You will also have one down here. If yours is not rusted out, then you're lucky. This one looks like it is bent over and rusted up pretty decent. And there will be, with your door open, you'll have a bolt here, and you'll have a bolt here on the bottom. And then your passenger side will be bolted on identical, except for you will have an antenna. And I believe the plug for that is behind your glove box. I generally could just cut that. I generally shave my antennas, so I don't really mess with it. So with the fenders off, I can access these bolts easier, and I will get that off really easily. Alright, so I've got all of the doors except for this one off, and I thought I'd show you some little tricks. Got the fenders off. So it's pretty well stripped. On the wiring harness inside the door, you've got these little clips. All you gotta do is just squeeze them and push them through. Squeeze it, push it through, and then just work your way around. You gotta take all these loose. So any plugs, you'll want to just unplug that. Might be easier to do that right there. So you've got a little bit of room. And if you had two hands, that would also help you. I don't have that luxury right now. Figuring these little plugs out in the dark when you can't see them is fun. So when you get it around here, you can pull this bottom grommet right here where it goes through. Oh, this is so hard to do with one hand. When you pull that, that will give you the ability to start pulling that harness out. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just get some slack right here, and then I'll go ahead and pull the bolts off of the hinges, and then just pull the door and set it over here off the truck, and then I can finagle with all of the wiring to get it out of that hole instead of putting my hand up in here where it's super tight. You can't hardly get it. This mirror has got some plugs right here. One of them is set up for male on one side and female on the same side so that you can't get these backwards. The other side did not have a speaker in it. I can see. I just need to push right there on that little thing. Without all of the extra braces, all that's holding this is right here, so that has bent. That's okay. I'm most likely going to cut that off anyway and just put a piece of square tubing in after I fit the fenders back. This is not perfect, and that got into the wheel. This is all beat all to crap anyway right here, so there's a lot of work that's going to have to be done right there. Most people look at that and think that it's not salvageable, but it is. So the cab is actually flexing down right now. I don't want it sitting here very long like this. I'm going to go ahead and pick it up, slide it over to here, and roll this frame out, and then pull a trailer in, and then set this onto a trailer, and then I'll have everything outside. I can sweep my floor and then pull the frame back in and get started on all of that. Looks like I got a wiring harness right here that is stuck. There we go. Alright, so it's ready to slide over there now. So that was fun. I got it on the trailer and got it out in the yard. So this is the door bolts, door hinge bolts. I went ahead and put those back in there so I don't lose them. I braced the back of it up so it wouldn't be hanging. So that's done. Here's that spinning spare. You can see how I did that. I just took the front hub, cut it down, and I welded in studs to where it would bolt on. And on the inside, welded a bunch of support. It's fixing to start raining. I got up early this morning and I came out and trying to finish this up before the rain got here. I named this project Pneumatic Junkie, and I remember why now. This thing requires a crap ton of work. We'll see if I can make it happen. I'm sure I can. Just do I have time to finish it? We'll see. These seals are going to be hard to get. I think I found aftermarket universal type seal that will fit in there. They don't make these anymore. They're discontinued. Alright, I'm going to get to cleaning and try to get that frame back in. Alright, the rain held off. I got the Pathfinder sitting outside, and I've got the frame back in the shop. I cleaned the shop up a little bit. I stuck some steel bars down through the lower control arms and just wedged them in here, and it got it off the ground a few inches. And I put blocks in above the axle on the frame right there. These 4-inch, they're really 3.5, but it's a 4x4. And I was able to roll it in and out and in, whatever. So what I'm looking at now is fitting a fuel cell instead of building the fuel tank for this. And it looks like it's going to work. I've used these before. You can take the factory hard body gas tank cinder and you can shorten it to the length that it needs to be and just put it back together. That's pretty easy. And then take your float and you can mark or measure your float, and you can have it to where it is empty on empty and full on full just by bending that rod around, taking up the extra slack and things. May have to weld on it, but it's not a big deal. I've done it. So I'm probably going to leave the fuel tank here, get rid of those bags, and put the fuel tank next to the compressor. Those are new. They don't look like it, but they are new. Hopefully they last. And everything was new on this whenever I assembled it 8 years ago. It's trashy. It's just surface rust. So I'm gonna wire brush this down, put gussets in, redo the lower 4-link. This is a triangulated 4-link. So I'm gonna have to move this bar over so that that bag, when that bag sits right here, that bar needs to be exactly underneath it, so it'll have to move over 2 or 3 inches. And it's gonna be a 2-inch square bar with a quarter wall. These tires are new, they're too wide. I'm gonna try to go ahead and run them since they are brand new, and I'd basically be throwing away new tires. I was gonna run a V8, that's why I put those. I really wanted these 215, 35, 18. That's usually what I run on an 18. Let's see. So just a lot of cleaning. I'll have to redo these lower control arms. I just used 1-inch square tubing and flat plate just to get the geometry right. And I never came back and finished any of that. This needs to be strengthened if I was to keep this. And what that does is it takes this tension rod that goes underneath here on both sides. It triangulates the lower control arm so it doesn't fold up when you hit speed bumps and whatever. So I just have to build new lower control arms. I built these uppers. So a lot of this has already been done. And alright, I'll just kind of go from here with it, and I'll keep you updated. There's my template that I've made with cardboard. Get your bolt holes lined up. Get everything looking good on it, so when you take it over to the table, you can cut your pieces out. I've got this. So they're pretty rough. So I'm going to take them over to my table, and I'm going to clean the edges. I'll just sandwich them in the vise and go over the edges and get them looking good. And then I'll put this on there, and I'll put them back in the vise with that on, and I'll drill my holes, and then they'll be ready to test fit. It might be a good idea just to cut one of these out at a time. I kind of got carried away, but it is what it is. So once it's pushed down, it will mate up right there, and then we'll gusset this if it works. The bag doesn't have a whole lot of clearance, but we'll see how it works. Alright guys, so it's another day off. I've just chased my tail all day. I've not got it out here and done anything. I think at this point I need to maybe try to wrap this video up and call it a video, and start a new one whenever I get back on this. Today I managed to get a tire put on my spare, and I know this fuel cell will fit right here, so it's good to go. I'm gonna have to clean these brackets up and then build a bracket to actually hold the fuel cell. A strap will come down and under the fuel cell, and then it will turn and come back up and bolt in probably to this bar. I think that'll be best I can, and then I'll get some rubber and wrap around that so that I don't wear through my aluminum. And after I cut these lower bars off of this axle, these brackets look terrible. They didn't look good anyway because I had to cut them off back here, so I needed new ones anyway. But this is my cardboard template that I've made, so I'm going to cut 4 of these out with the plasma cutter and then clean them up and drill my hole. If you cut your hole in your cardboard in the wrong spot, you can just get it in the right spot and then tape around That's how I do if I get it wrong. So this was actually about 3/8 of an inch off, and I just put tape on there, and then whenever I put that on my piece of metal, I'll know exactly where it needs to be. I've actually got quite a bit of cleaning to do on this axle tube. It is terrible. I've got to knock these off. Those are the factory leaf spring mounts. I have to move this. It's in the way, so I'm going to move it. I'll probably I'll just unbolt it, take this tab, move it down, and then whenever I bolt it back up, I'll flip it over or take these off and turn it around, however I've got to do it. But this needs to go up, maybe not straight up, but fairly close. I may end up having to bend some of these. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I'll clean this off, things that I know I'm not going to need, and then I will weld these on the new position and get that cleaned up. I'm going to go ahead and run the round bar. I will build a gusset that will gusset from the front to the back at like an arch, connect in the middle. That'll give it the support that it needs. It's right on the end of this link anyway, so most of the stress will be right there on that. And I wish that that was not the adjustable side. I wish that was the welded side. So it might be a good idea to flip this around. Just unbolt it here, flip it over. That way that welded side is probably going to be stronger than that bolted side. That one's threaded for the adjustability of the length. And I have to move this upper bar. It's going to be all up in my bag. So I'll have to cut these loose, probably build new ones, angle them more that direction, and have this come here instead of here. Roughly this tab will be beside this tab, and this tab will be way out here. And that should get me close. I'll set it all up before I weld everything. Make sure this bag will clear. I've moved the bottom over, and I've got a hole right here that I had for my parking brake cable to go through, which now it won't go through. It has to be an oblong hole for that to fit. So this parking brake cable will now be on the outside of the frame rail, and I will just bolt this roughly here, and that will push that away from that tire. If I push it further back, it makes that stick away from the tire. So that's what I need. And I'll just go over the frame here. The body should clear that. I'll bolt that in, build a bracket to hold this out, 4 inches from the frame. Build a bracket to hold that solid on both sides, and then come in, that connects to that, and then you will have your, I might be missing a piece right here, but that will go into your parking brake inside your handle. And I'm going to clean these up, gusset that in. Got a lot of work to do. I'll have to push through it, get it done just as quick as I can and make it right. Has to be right. We'll get there. Probably gonna stop this video here, and I'll get you back started up on a new video best I can. Wish me luck.